Hey guys, welcome back to the Process Programming with Coach Haynes. We are here for part 3 of our muscle up series. Now today we're going to be talking about the ring dip, and specifically with the ring dip, the kipping ring dip. Now don't forget, in part 1 we covered the beat swing and the hip to ring drill. Part 2 we covered the transition. Specifically with the transition, we spoke about the neutral grip, having a transition over. We're not using a false grip. Remember, we're talking about kipping ring muscle ups. So today we're going to be talking about the kipping ring dip. Now again, we go back to prerequisites. You should be able to do a strict ring dip at least. So that means we should have no problem in pressing out through the ring dip today. If you're one of those people that know you can get up into the rings, but you always get stuck at the bottom of rings and you're kipping, you're flailing like a fish up there, then we don't even want you to worry about this stage right now. Really, you just need to get stronger through your pressing work. So dip work, banded dip work if you need to, eccentrics, get on bars versus getting into the rings. Don't forget the rings obviously offer a more unstable and challenging apparatus. So get onto something more stable to start, like a parallel bar or a V-bar. Once you've built a bit of strength there, then we get into the rings. So with the ring dip today, we've already addressed the transition. We're catching in the bottom position or the bottom support position of the rings. We should be comfortable to just sit in that bottom position. If it's a real struggle to stay in that bottom position, then maybe we just need to accumulate a little bit more time in the bottom of that ring dip position. Otherwise, if you are comfortable, the first drill we're going to talk about, all we are doing is focusing on the kip. Okay, so in a regular gymnastic kipping ring dip, we're looking at keeping the shoulders deep in the range of motion, as if you just pulled through the transition. From here, the legs should be straight. Don't forget, when we kip up through the rings, the legs remain fairly straight as you catch. From here, we're looking to drive the knees up towards the chest. Driving the knees up towards the chest is what starts to accelerate body weight and acceleration up through the rings. Once the knees start to come up, that's when we press, and that is essentially the kipping ring dip. Once the body locks out at the top, then the legs drop straight again, we lower back down. And again, don't forget, we are doing this kipping ring dip for the ring muscle up. So we're not looking at repetitive sets of 15 to 20 kipping ring dips. We're just looking for one rep at a time. So focus on the quality here. So if I let this video play through, we sit in the bottom position of the rings, we drive the knees up, lock out, legs come straight. Knees up, lock out, knees come straight. Drive up, lock out, legs come straight. One more time, knees up, legs straight, and down. Now, don't forget, in this drill, again, quality, quality, quality. If you don't understand the kipping ring dip, then you shouldn't really be going to high rep style muscle up work or high rep kipping ring dip work. We are looking for some sort of acceleration at the bottom position. Obviously, it's the deepest range of motion. It's the hardest to contract and drive out of there. So we're using the legs to help us get out. We're looking at efficiency through the movement. Now, what we see a lot in this specific type of kipping ring dip is as people go to press, the legs actually shoot back down. So the knees, they don't give themselves enough time for the knees actually to come up towards the chest to actually give any sort of acceleration upwards. People get so concerned about getting the legs straight again that actually they shoot their feet back down, and that drives momentum back down to the floor. We don't want that. We want momentum coming up towards the ceiling. So think about knees up to the chest and press hard. Remember, think about keeping the shoulders over the hands as you press. We don't want to be leaning back and puffing that chest out in this type of ring dip. Generally, this ring dip will be for people who are slightly weaker in the ring dip. Now, we have a different type of ring dip. This is the one that you'll see a lot more in competitive CrossFit when people are cycling through repetitive reps of a muscle up. So this is what we call the sweeping kip or the heel kip as you come back up. Because obviously as you rotate through and transition through the rings, the legs naturally come back underneath you. So in the first gymnastic kip, you'll notice it's a hold at the bottom, drive the knees up. And that's what would happen if you did the muscle up. You would come through, catch, pause, drive up and go. And you'll see that in part 4 of this series where I actually demonstrate the full kipping muscle up. With this kip next, the heel sweeping back kip, what we're looking to do is actually sit in the bottom of rings. Now, this is very much a timing drill. And you'll notice that what I'm doing right now is sitting at the bottom of the rings and I'm just flailing my legs back and forth, but I'm staying in a hollow position and the rings shouldn't really be moving too much. You'll notice I'm very much in control of where those rings are swinging. Legs are going back and forth. Now, as the legs start to swing back, that is replicating you transitioning through the rings. As your shoulders catch in the rings, the legs will transition back. As the legs transition back, I want you to think about sweeping the legs up behind you. And it almost looks like a little bit of a heel kick towards your ass. That's what we're looking for. Swing, 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 and drive up and press through. Now you'll notice in this dip, rather than being shoulders over the rings, I'm actually much more extended as we press out. Again, generally as you extend and move into external torque, shoulders coming back, chest up, generally you actually neglect your pecs a little bit more. So you drive a bit more strength and kind of focus through your triceps through the press. Again, like I said, this is for people who are stronger in the ring dip, not necessarily for people who are quite weak through the ring dip. Firstly, if you're weak through the ring dip, you should be addressing your strength and probably using option 1 that we just demonstrated. If you're a little bit stronger and have a lot of experience and time spent in the rings, then this could definitely be an option for you. One more time, swinging back and forth. As the heels come back, we look to kip up and press at the same time. Looking at coordination, again, just like before, repeat, repeat, repeat with these drills. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're actually going to link the transition through a jumping transition in the low rings into one of these ring dip variations. So the first video we're going to go through is a jumping muscle up, catch, and like we said, we're going to have a slight pause there, and then we drive the knees up towards the chest, drop down. We're just doing 1 rep at a time. Don't worry about trying to link anything now. So it's a transition, 1 ring dip, reset. Transition, 1 ring dip, reset. We'll go through both variations, the knees up first, and then we'll go through the heels sweeping up. So the first one, you notice, set just like we did in part 2 of our ring muscle up series. Set underneath the rings in the low rings, jump and transition through the rings. We're gonna hold for 1 second and drive the knees up to the chest. Notice I'm not even concerned right now about my legs coming back down straight once I've done the kipping ring dip. Just hold the knees up towards the chest so you understand that kip. One more time, jump up through the rings, hold, drive the knees up and down. Last one, drive up, catch, hold, knees up, down. You'll notice you can actually see I'm quite fast out of the ring dip. Yes, I'm a bit stronger in the ring dip, but also those knees are really helping me accelerate out that bottom deep position of the rings. The next one we're going to look at is option 2. This is a heel sweeping kip. Again, this one just looks a bit more fluid because you're not having to pause, wait for the body to stop, and then drive the knees up. As you catch, naturally the feet start to sweep behind you, the heels will drive up towards your ass, and you kip out at the same time. So as you play through, jump, sweep, drive. Jump through, transition, feet sweep, drive. Jump through, transition, heels up, drive. Okay, so again, it just looks a lot more fluid, and like I said, generally it's for people who are stronger at the ring dip and people who are more experienced with the rings, but also people who have spent time doing ring dips. If you haven't really spent much time doing ring dips, stick to option 1 to start. As you get more strength, experience, and time in those rings, then start to think about option 2. Remember, we're just looking really at 1 kipping muscle up with this whole series right now, and we'll speak about linking reps later on down the line. But we're looking at efficiency for 1 rep. Make sure you practice these 2 different variations of the kipping ring dip. Remember, if you're slightly weaker, option 1 with the knees driving up in the kip. If you're a little bit stronger and a bit more experienced, then you can look at option 2, heels sweeping back up through the kip. Stay tuned for part 4, where we're actually going to talk about the full muscle up through jumping transitions and dipping, and then we'll go into a high set of rings and look at linking reps as well.